Welcome to our study on the subject A Cursed Tree and a Cleansed Temple. Our reading is from the book of Mark 11 verses 12 to 26. What is the significance of the events depicted here? Now the next day, when they had come out from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. In response Jesus said to it, "Let no one eat fruit from you ever again." And his disciples heard it. In the book of Matthew 21 verses 12 and 13, Luke 19 verses 45 and 46 we read. So they came to Jerusalem. Then Jesus went into the temple and began to drive out those who bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry wares through the temple. Then he taught, saying to them, "Is it not written, My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of thieves." And the scribes and chief priests heard it and sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because more the people were astonished at his teaching. When evening had come, he went out of the city. What lessons do we learn from this act, power of faith? The book of Matthew 21:20, 22 we read. Now in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. And Peter, remembering, said to him, "Rabbi, look. The fig tree which you cursed has withered away." So Jesus answered and said to them, "Have faith in God. For assuredly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, Be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them." The necessity of forgiveness. And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your trespasses. In the morning, coming from Bethany, only about 2 miles, a little more than 3 kilometers, from Jerusalem, Jesus was hungry. Seeing a fig tree in leaf, he went to it to find perhaps some early fruit. This action would not be considered stealing since according to Old Testament law, one could eat food from a neighbor's field or orchard to assuage hunger, Leviticus 19 verse 9, Leviticus 23 verse 22, Deuteronomy 23 verse 25. But he found no fruit and said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again," Mark 11 verse 14. It was a very strange and atypical action for Jesus, but what follows right after becomes even more striking. What happens next likely occurs in the court of the Gentiles, where selling of sacrifices took place, recently begun by Caiaphas. Jesus links 2 Old Testament passages as a scathing rebuke of the unholy traffic. He insists the temple is to be a house of prayer for all people, Isaiah 56 verse 7, emphatically including the Gentiles. Then he says the leaders have made the temple a den of robbers, Jeremiah 7 verse 11. Then, at the end of this amazing day, Jesus leaves the city with his disciples, Mark 11 verse 19. The next morning, going back to the city, see Mark 11 verses 20 to 26, the disciples are astonished to see the fig tree withered from the roots. Jesus makes a lesson about prayer and forgiveness in his explanation of what has happened. What does all this mean? These 2 stories are the 4th sandwich story in Mark, see lesson 3. In such stories, dramatized irony occurs with parallel characters doing opposite actions or opposite characters doing parallel actions. In this story the fig tree and the temple stand in parallel. Jesus curses the tree but cleanses the temple, opposite actions. But the irony is that the religious leaders will now plot to kill Jesus, and that action will spell the end of the significance of the temple services, which were fulfilled in Jesus. The question is, what things in your life do you need Jesus to clean? How does this happen? Now what are the lessons we learn from this? 1. Symbolism of the fig tree. Jesus' cursing of the fig tree is a symbolic act representing the spiritual barrenness of Israel, particularly its religious leaders. The fig tree, often a symbol of Israel in the Old Testament, is cursed for not bearing fruit, reflecting the hypocrisy and lack of genuine faith among the people. 3. 2. connection to the temple. The cleansing of the temple by Jesus immediately follows the cursing of the fig tree. This act highlights Jesus' condemnation of the corrupt practices within the temple, which had become a marketplace rather than a house of prayer. The temple's leaders, much like the fig tree, were not fulfilling their intended purpose. 2. 3. Call for genuine worship. Jesus' actions in both cursing the fig tree and cleansing the temple underscore his call for genuine worship and spiritual purity. The fig tree's withering and the clearing of the temple serve as warnings against empty religiosity and a reminder of the need for sincere devotion and true worship of God. 6. 4. Judgment and renewal. These events also signify impending judgment and the need for renewal. Just as the fig tree withered, so too would the temple and the religious system face judgment. However, this also points to the possibility of spiritual renewal through repentance and true worship. Thank you very much and God bless you.